Chapter 28. Captivity Day 28. Samari. Gowrie had departed yesterday with the Pygmy Tech crew for the Nadrock system. They should arrive in the late evening sometime tomorrow. It would be tight, but they should have just enough time to prepare everything for Vakir's forces' initial strike. After a lengthy tactical discussion, Oleander had offered to blockade the entrance of the slipstream once the fighting started. The Pilth Stargate had been temporarily taken offline to prevent the main body of the Cletharian fleets from returning to the region through it, by way of the Meloria Regional Starlink. Without her Queen's mark, Sam couldn't influence the Cletharian movements. With that route closed to them, it would delay their return by 8 days. There were almost 20 Black Church-governed systems in that region, nearly half of their holdings. In the past, Def Corp, under one name or another, had exploited Cletharian activity to frighten systems into signing defense contracts. As a subsidiary of Tars Corp, this had placed far too much power in the hands of the megacorporation. Despite them losing control of the gate, they were the only faction licensed to preform maintenance on it. It had been in maintenance mode since the Cletharian fleets passed the Keller system on its way to Meloria. A smaller, secondary, fleet had passed the Elverin system a few days prior. Cletharia was on the move, and the stability of that entire region was faltering. With any luck, the Karzan War would disrupt Def Corp's schemes. Sam couldn't shake the feeling that one of the Ravenhawk clones was involved. She'd have to see if Gowroon knew anything once she arrived on Hyrule. The Regicide 1 had been rebuilt and upgraded, but they couldn't leave until getting launch approval from Tyrell. The main control room of the array was filled with display screens. Tyrell was sitting in a chair in the middle of it all, paying most of his attention to a single screen. "What is he doing?" Tyrell asked as Oleander and Samari walked into the room. "My staff were only able to cobble together one harness," Oleander said. "We can only bring one of the twins." "Not them, the new one." "Louis?" Samari asked. "Let me see. Can you rewind it an hour, and play it back at 10 times normal?" Louis was moving in a shockingly logical pattern. Small loops, each a little larger than the last, always returning to her, as if he were mentally mapping the station. "Here's," Sam began. "I see it too," Tyrell chuckled. "I'm retired, not blind. Is it okay if I leave him behind?" Sam asked. "Sure, it gets boring all alone out here," Tyrell said, eyeing Oleander. Oleander laughed. "We are taking that old Nightshade model. My ship and crew are staying here, as long as my people can keep rummaging through your toy box." "What a great idea. I wish I thought of it," Tyrell grinned. "It's a big station. If some want to stay around once you pull out as part of a technology exchange." Sam yelped when Oleander grabbed her ass as Tyrell was mentioning him pulling out. "I'll discuss it with my crew after we return," he shrugged. "I'd hate to lose access to an asset like this." Sam blushed as he gave another firm squeeze. "We should probably go get Zaku and get out of here," Tyrell snickered. "I'm bringing Yari," Sam said firmly. "Zaku will be coming next time. Wasn't it Yari who was being a little?" "Yes," Sam interrupted, "and that's why I'm bringing him. It will give me time to bond with him." "Or space him," Oleander snickered. Samari smacked him. "Have a good trip," Tyrell said, then waved as Oleander slung Sam over his shoulder and walked away. "Just to make this clear, you're not spacing my kid," Sam said irritably. "You have seen your kids, haven't you?" Oleander laughed. "If I got in a wrestling match with one of them to decide who ends up on the wrong side of an airlock, which of us will be wishing they had one of your atmospheric bubbles?" "Are you going to put me down? Are you still bleeding? Which answer results in you putting me down?" Sam snickered. He slid her forward and lowered her onto her feet. She smiled at him playfully, swayed her hips back and forth while slowly backing away, giggled, and said, "No more blood," and then took off running. She sprinted, full tilt, through the station with him hot on her tail. He was faster with a longer gait, but she was far more agile, twirling over under and around objects and people as if she were performing an elaborately choreographed dance. She couldn't stop giggling. She quickly learned the closer she passed members of his crew, the more likely they'd get in his way or outright trip him. This wasn't a new game for them. Sam could almost remember the original Samari teasing him like this, but she was pretty sure she was carrying something that belonged to him last time. As she rounded the corner, she saw a wall of white fur in front of her. "Catch me," she yelled as she leapt into the air and pulled her knees to her chest. Yari turned and made an oomph noise as she collided with his chest. He held her high and threw her to his brother as Oleander tried to seize her from his hands. Zaku caught her, and said, "Hi, Mama," as Oleander spun to continue his pursuit. Zaku held her with both hands, high into the air. She laughed uncontrollably as Yari caught her and tossed her back to Zaku, who threw her back immediately while Oleander stood looking disheveled between the brothers. Hug attack! Samari spread her arms and legs, and yelled as she descended toward Yari. "I give up," Oleander laughed. "Sorry, playtime is over," Samari panted with exhaustion. "We have to get ready to go." Zaku wasn't happy about being left behind, but after a few extra hugs and it being re-explained how important a job it was to help protect the array, he accepted it. It took 20 minutes, 3 members of Oleander's tech team, and a final inspection by Tyrell, but with the harness on, Yari was comfortable enough to go anywhere he wanted on the Regicide too. She didn't think the ship had changed enough to merit the number change, but arguing with Tyrell about it was pointless. What would he care? He's retired. The twins used to spend most of their time in the landing bay, because they start overheating after a few hours most anywhere else. The harness kept his body temperature low enough to keep him happy and comfortable. Yuri was enjoying being able to comfortably sit on the bridge, along with Oleander and Sam. They kept all the view screens active while they navigated through the nebula, passing by Nautiloids and Cletherian warships on their way to the slipstream. Sam was enjoying the trip too, comfortable for very different reasons. Oleander had taken the helm and she was lounging across his lap, with one of his arms behind her back, and his free hand working the controls and occasionally caressing her legs while Yuri's attention was elsewhere. He didn't cross any lines and showed great restraint. It was nice. Her anxiety slowly grew as they closed in on the mouth of the slipstream. Once their course was set, they'd arrive in the Havras system a little less than a day later. "Yuri," Samra said, "we're going to set one of the secondary screens so you can watch videos, if you want to. You can just keep watching space fly by, wander the ship, or whatever you'd like. If you need anything, just press the big green button on the arm of this chair. It will take about a day to get to Hyrule, so we'll have lots of time together. After we are all done in the Havras system, we'll go back to the station. I'll live there with everyone, and Oleander will have to go home with his fleet." Yuri shuffled his feet and nodded. "I only have one full day to spend with him. Oleander and I are going to spend some alone time in my room, okay?" "It's okay, Mama Sam. I understand," Yuri said, giggled, then added, "Have fun chasing the Charlig." Samari stood, wagging her finger, while looking crossly at Yari, as the ship entered the slipstream, and the automated navigation system engaged. "Yari," she said aghast, "what did you say?" "We will," Oleander laughed, scooped her off her feet, and carried her off to the elevator. "No, I'm not done talking yet," Sam said, looking around him. The elevator door opened. Yuri was laughing at her. "Don't worry, kiddo," Oleander laughed. "I'll help your mother calm down." The door slid closed. "What if I don't want to be calm?" Sam demanded as he hit the button for the main deck. Sounds fun. Oleander grinned down at her. Samari blushed and said, It does, doesn't it? Chasing the Charlig, Oleander chuckled softly. I'll have to remember that one. It doesn't really work, Sam balked. Am I chasing it or is it chasing me? Wouldn't choking the Charlig work better? Tell me you weren't angry over who was chasing who. She rolled out of his arms as the door opened, hit the floor, and took off running. It was only a frigate-class ship. She couldn't run far. She heard him walking after her. She rounded the first corner and sped around the second into the hallway leading to the crew bedrooms. She could still hear him casually walking down the first hallway. You're no fun, she complained as she spun around, right into his chest. He had used a knack ability to disguise the sound of his pursuit. He picked her up, slung her over his shoulder, and swatted her on the ass. Stop, Sam said. Oleander lowered her back to the floor. She smiled playfully and took off running again. I don't know where your room is, he reminded her, without resuming his pursuit. This way, Sam yelled as she grabbed her doorknob and darted into her room. Her sister self had always been so serious, so intense. Sam didn't want to admit how much more fun her life was without her, but she was secretly happy to be rid of her shadow. Being Kayla hadn't been much fun. She was loving her new life as Samari, and hoped it would last a long time, but Oleander was a key factor in her enjoyment. He encouraged her to take herself less seriously, and just play. This was a luxury she hadn't been afforded during childhood, as Kayla, and she had a lot of lost time to make up for. Carly. She was able to home in on Strawberry's location through tracking Bruno's mind. To avoid making too much of a scene, Ujaran stopped off at a store to pick her up something else to wear. The powder blue Kamen-style sweatsuit wasn't her style, but it served the purpose. She changed in the APC on the way. Upon their arrival at the dock district, they met up with the others who'd gotten a table for 4 at a dockside restaurant. Bruno had chosen it, promising they made the best spicy noodles. Bruno's back was to a window, with Ujaran sitting to his right. The ladies were next to each other across from the men. Carly was across from Ujaran with a clear line of sight to the entry. Strawberry was on her left, across from Bruno. The countdown displayed by Carly's communication unit flashed as all the numbers changed. 32 days remaining. The virtual display was entirely within her mind, making it more secure against cyberpaths than telepaths. It worked well for her. She could defend herself against people trying to look in her head. The storage device could be accessed by cyberpaths, but not easily or at significant range. She didn't understand its inner workings, but Strawberry did. Oh, I felt that. Strawberry giggled as she handed Carly's amber-colored pendant back to her. What do you think? Carly asked. Is it safe? The start value is in the software startup options, but the time remaining updates fully on the pendant when the day changes. It happens whenever it syncs with the IS master clock through a ping to the Lightwave network. It probably checks more than once a day. Strawberry said, smiled weakly and added, yes, it's safe. That's a relief, Carly sighed. When I saw all the numbers change earlier, it scared me a little. Carly hung the amber pendant back around her neck. Ujaran shook his head and snickered. Leave it to Adiarxie to time herself while murdering her way through a small army. That was self-defense, Carly insisted. Besides that, I did warn them that I consider going with them to constitute implied consent to all be brutally killed. Or something like that. Consent doesn't work like that, all 3 of her companions said together, although the precise wording varied. Are you sure? Carly said deviously. None of them filed a complaint. Do you mind if I order a second bowl? Strawberry asked meekly while looking at the pile of empties next to Bruno. Why are you asking him? Carly snickered. I'm paying. I offered to pay for Sato, Bruno said firmly. I make more than her. Here we go, Ujaran chuckled. No, Carly smiled. He's only paying for her. I'll cover the rest. You're planning on paying his tab, Ujaran thought clearly. Carly smiled in response. Ujaran's tablet beeped. He looked at it irritably, took a picture of the bowls. That should be enough to shut up Lilac for a while, he said. I should take a picture of the group of us for Azuri. Give it, Carly demanded, reaching across the table. Then you won't be in the picture, he objected. Carly rested her hand on Strawberry's leg and tilted her head. Don't worry, I remember you're here. I'm a little upset that he forgot I have 8-foot tails, but nobody's perfect. Carly's black tail sped in front of Ujaran, with its stinger still retracted, as her twin tails reached for his tablet. Does a passive threat violate consent? Carly teased. Take it, Ujaran chuckled. Strawberry giggled. After a little positioning guidance, Cho used her knack to take a picture of the entire group. For Azuri, Carly smiled as she passed the tablet back to Ujaran. Can I have a copy? Bruno asked. I took a couple extras while we were setting up the shot. Strawberry smiled. I'll show you later when I have access to a display screen. Thank you, Sato, Bruno smiled. Carly empathically urged one of the waitstaff over to the table so they could order refills and more noodles. It still amused her that they were called glass noodles, just because they were transparent. Carly, Bruno said happily, it is nice to have a real name for my cock ring. Carly giggled at Ujaran's discomfort. Why are you wearing a mask? We are not at Nim. And why a black vulpine? Bruno asked. It was a gift from a friend, Carly shrugged. It's comfortable, fits well enough to fight with it on, and if I'm going to rampage like a Cletharian, I'd still like to be able to show my face afterwards. Ujaran laughed knowingly. I wish we could do this more often, Strawberry grumbled. Bruno looked confused. Ujaran sighed. Carly grabbed Bruno by the horns with her brown tails and turned his head to face her. Don't ask. We are not permitted to answer, Carly said sadly. I still don't believe he thinks I'm going to work after the day I've had, Strawberry mocked. You really should, Ujaran said. It will give us time to come up with new living arrangements. Do you really want to just go home? There may be more of them out there, and they know where you live. It's not much, but it's all I can afford, Strawberry complained. Did I not mention new living arrangements? Ujaran snorted. If Lilac can convince the government to give me back some of the money they stole from me, Carly scowled, I'd buy an entire block, level it, and build her a walled compound with automated defenses. I wonder if Tyrell can build her one. Senpai, build me a cult compound. Strawberry giggled while fluttering her eyelids. Please. Wait, Carly laughed. Is that really how you've been talking to him? Maybe a little, Strawberry shrugged while blushing. Must be a Terran thing, Ujaran chuckled. It is, Bruno said. Ujaran turned to face him and blinked twice. We have many sub-Terran customers at Nim, Bruno shrugged. I hear things. Ujaran shook his head. Tyrell has a daughter older than you, Carly said to Strawberry. The waiter returned with their order. Who cares? Did I say I wanted to fuck him? Carly smirked. Strawberry looked down as if shamed and muttered, maybe a little. Ujaran choked on his drink. Bruno continued eating. Do you really want me to ask Lilac if she can get back enough of your money to buy property? Ujaran asked. It's not doing me any good, Carly grumbled as she picked up her fork. What? Strawberry said with exaggerated outrage. Senpai always sounds grumpy. It might cheer him up. Strawberry, eat. Carly chuckled. I guess that could work, Strawberry considered, But I was thinking some hard riding. Are you always thinking about sex? Ujaran snorted. No. Strawberry grinned. Not when I'm sleeping, unless. Wait, do dreams count? Lilac walked into the restaurant and looked around the room. Uja, Kali hissed. Why did you send her that picture? She motioned to the door with her fork. Hang on, is Whiskers? Lilac. Strawberry asked. Whiskers. Ujaran and Kali said in unison. That's what we call her at Nim, Bruno said. She used to be a regular, but never wore a mask. Just sat at the bar with mascara whiskers drawn on her face. I'm not surprised, Ujaran grumbled. A woman so desperate to be recognized as she is would never cover their face. Here she comes, Kali said, then continued eating, pretending she hadn't seen her. Strawberry angled her seat to keep her back to the door. Ujaran pulled his hood further forward and lowered his head slightly. Bruno didn't take the hint. He stopped eating and sat back, grinning toward Lilac. He pulled his seat back from the table until the back bumped into the windowsill behind him. Kali looked at him irritably, and glanced inside his head to see what in the powers he was thinking. Her tails darted under the table, preparing to grab everyone else's glasses as she lifted her own and held onto it. The outcome of his devious plan didn't take an oracle to predict. Whiskers, come sit with us, Bruno said while waving to Lilac. There are no more chairs, but you can sit on my lap. Strawberry looked at Kali with alarm, then grabbed her own glass off the table and pushed her bowl toward the middle. Ujaran looked back and forth between the two women and did the same. Kali's tails repositioned themselves, relaxing on the floor behind her. Kali slid her bowl to the center of the table. Bruno finished his drink as Lilac approached. Are you sure? Lilac asked. Right here, Bruno said, while patting his legs. Thank you, Lilac said with enough gratitude that Kali almost felt bad for her. Lilac carefully sat down, paused with a baffled look on her face, turned her body from one side to the other, and narrowed her eyes. What's that lump? Am I sitting on something? She asked. It's okay, Bruno said happily. It's only my penis. A noise that defied description came from her mouth as she jumped up, colliding with the table. Bruno's empty glass fell over as Kali's tails slapped down onto the top of the bowls, pinning them to the table. Broth and noodles sloshed against her fur. I'm sorry, Bruno said. It's soft. I thought it would be a comfortable cushion. These chairs are too hard. You're all horrible. Lilac yelled as she backed away from the table as they all laughed. You can have my chair, Kali continued laughing, as she stepped around in front of Bruno. I'll take the comfy chair. Lilac glared at all of them while Kali tried to get comfortable sitting on Bruno's lap. It's no good, Bruno said. How do you weigh so much more today? Oops, I forgot to adjust that. Kali blushed as she telekinetically reduced her weight. That's better, Bruno sighed. I might need that later. Lilac sat down in the recently vacated chair while Kali cleaned the noodles out of the hair on her tails. Ujaran finished off his bowl, and Strawberry sucked down a few more noodles from her second helping. You need to go home now, Lilac said to Kali. Ujaran opened his mouth to speak, but was silenced by a disapproving glance from Kali. The guy that was supposed to watch me left when he didn't get the call he was expecting, Strawberry said apprehensively. What happened today? Kali smiled and leaned back into Bruno's fur. There was a problem. I took care of it. I had no idea how they found me until one of them told me you were their prisoner. They threatened to hurt me if I didn't tell them where to find you, Strawberry pouted. You made the right choice, Kali reassured her. That's a top security facility, Lilac objected. I'm still upset that you know about it. Lilac, Ujaran snapped, you had no say in it. Shugok approved her first visit. You're just upset that it wasn't under your control. He approved my second visit too, Strawberry added, but he was really weird about it. He tried to convince me she was some kind of mental patient. Just sit and listen closely, Carly thought to Bruno. He's a doctor of psychiatry. He's a professor at some university, Ujaran smirked. It's his job to get into people's heads. That explains a few things, Carly muttered. None of that matters, Lilac sneered. Her existence on this planet is a government secret. Sir, would you like a refill? The waiter said to Bruno. Yes, please, Bruno replied happily. Me too, please, Strawberry chimed in. Lilac sat quietly stewing in her rage as he walked around the table refilling drinks. Would you like to order anything? He asked Lilac. No, she snapped, then apologized for being terse, and said, no, thank you. Carly smiled at the waiter as he walked away from the table. Where was I? Lilac grumbled. If I remember correctly, Carly smiled broadly, you were letting the waitstaff know I'm a government secret. Don't worry. I'm wearing my mask. I'm sure it will be fine. Lilac scowled. Let's run through a quick hypothetical scenario, Carly said as she stared at Lilac. Those people take my strawberry. She refuses to tell them, so they yank out her nails. She endures the pain, and says nothing, so they cut her scalp out from under her hair. She says nothing. Nobody reports her screams, so they keep going, breaking one bone after another from smallest to largest. Strawberry looked horrified, but Carly continued, through all of it, she refuses to tell them, even after they burn away her flesh. Eventually, I find out what happened. Nobody would have to tell me. The rocks remember. You know what I did today, and she's unharmed. In a scenario like that, how far do you think I'd go to enact my personal form of justice? Strawberry was shivering, Ujaran was sitting slack-jawed, Lilac was avoiding her gaze, and Bruno's muscles stiffened. So, tell me, Lilac, Carly growled, did she make the right decision? Yes, Lilac whispered reluctantly. I can't hear you, Carly said angrily, pausing between each word. She did what she had to do, Lilac said in frustration. If it wasn't for what happened today, we wouldn't have uncovered a conspiracy that involved security personnel, Ujaran said while reaching over to hold Strawberry's hand. Have you caught the idiot who added me to the valid target list yet, or do I have to worry about them adding other people to it? Carly asked. Not yet, Lilac admitted. Remember the cowgirl from event night? Carly said for the benefit of Bruno and Strawberry. It was her. If either of you see her again, let security know. Or me, if I'm not in my cage. Bruno grunted with curiosity. She hushed him, pulled herself up and kissed his cheek before he could ask any questions. Adiaksi told Lilac she refuses to return to confinement until she knows you're safe, Ujaran reassured Strawberry. Carly felt the word confinement rumble through Bruno's chest as he breathed it inaudibly. I didn't come across any Darians on the 30th floor. Until your people have caught him and that Leica, I won't feel like my Strawberry is safe, Carly glared at Lilac. I'm only willing to be reasonable when I'm confident the people I care about are safe. I told you about Jake and Tiki, and you know what happened to the people that hurt them. I didn't want that. I didn't ask for it, and I gave you the information you needed to try to stop it, and Kulani did nothing. I've offered to negotiate a truce with the Jinnan, and Kulani has done nothing. I was invited here to meet your leader, and was imprisoned instead. I like your people. I'm unimpressed by your leaders. She felt anger radiating from Lilac. I haven't told anyone yet, Carly hissed. It took some time to work it out, but I've met the woman that made that shawl. It's made from spider silk, and I know the spider's name. Lilac was a zealot. She was incapable of accepting the truth, despite having worn the garment herself. The greatest threat to the Kulani Dominion isn't me or even the Cletherian horde. It's a reflection of the truth, nothing more. Ujaran entered something into his tablet and slid it across the table. Adiarxi, tell me, what do you see? Not this time, Kali sighed. They're wearing the shawl. I'd love to know when, where, and who took that picture, Kali thought to him. It's completely untouched. Look through the rainbow in the fountain at the reflection underneath. Sorry, just forget I said all that, Kali grumbled. I'm just frustrated I couldn't finish what I started. You killed 21 people, Lilac said in dismay. Isn't that enough? I didn't know I got blackjack, Kali snickered. I wasn't counting. I was too busy trying not to get shot. Again. Kali slid off Bruno's lap and stood by the corner of the table. I've gotten bored with our little game. You take everything from me, and give me scraps just so you have something else to threaten to take. It's all about control. Shortly before I met the old Cletherian queen, the people who handed me the title Lady Darkseid asked me to make a choice between abdication, defiance, and submission. Mind you, I was the rightful heir. If you were in my position, what would your answers be? Kali asked everyone. Abdication, Strawberry said. Too much hassle. It's not that clear what any of them mean, Ujaran shrugged. Submission. I prefer soft power. Defiance, Bruno said quietly. I don't like any of those, Lilac grimaced. Really? Kali chuckled softly. Strawberry, the old queen drains your life force so she can live longer. Ujaran, you keep the name, but are used as a puppet. Bruno, you're stripped of your title and hunted. I refused to choose, so they gave me one final option, ascension. Can I have that one? Lilac laughed. Sure, Kali said irritably, but you can't keep it. They won't let you. I refuse to answer entirely, Kali said, but I took the fourth path just the same, which led me here. They locked me away from the world, punished my defiance, siphoned more than 2K from my account, and tried to force me into submission. Can we go back to the beginning? Lilac asked. I don't remember you explaining the rules to this game. Game? Ujaran scoffed. I hope you don't think the way she's been treated is a game to you. It isn't to her, or me. Why do you think I lost my composure with you? I already knew about most of this, but the 2000 I only learned about today. That dress I bought her was worth more than Galcreds, Ujaran and Kali said in unison. Kali completed the statement alone. I never paid much attention to the exact amount, but I know I had over 2,000 Galcreds in my account when they drained it. At least they left me around 12 Gal. They took over 100 million credits from you, Strawberry gasped. Kali nodded. There's more to the story, Kali shrugged. The only reason I care now is how far that kind of money would go in ensuring the safety of people I care about. Doing what? Lilac asked with more curiosity than scorn. Hiring mercenaries. I was thinking property, Kali shrugged. Do some major security upgrades. Hire a doorman, maybe. Just someplace where they can be safe and I can have some peace of mind. I wouldn't want her, or anyone else staying with me. That's no way to live. I hear the 30th floor of Index Heights has been recently vacated, Ujaran snickered. I don't know, that floor is a bit of a mess, Kali giggled. It feels like rewarding you for going on a killing spree, Lilac grumbled, but if that's what it will take for you to agree to return to your containment when you're told, and not to cause more problems, I'll ask. She wasn't the cause of any of this. Ujaran looked like he was about to jump across the table and throttle Lilac. Kali's tail swirled around his as she rested her hand on the small of his back. Shugok threatened to ban you from visiting me 2 days ago. Calm down. I don't want to give them any more excuses. or I might start taking it personally. I'm talking now, Bruno snorted. I was brought here when they found me in a ship, trapped in the airlock, everyone else dead. They brought me here. They put me in a big room with a hole in the ceiling. It made my head feel funny. They said a word I did not understand, then brought me to another building. Small planet, Strawberry giggled. They gave him the popcorn test, Ujaran chuckled. Kali's entire body stiffened. Don't ever say that in my presence. I've already had to fight too, and I would have died if I didn't have a friend with good timing. There aren't many chambers equipped to conduct the changeling test, Lilac shrugged. We have the only one in this quadrant. In second building, they questioned me for a long time, Bruno continued. They kept me locked up. I do not like being caged. I do not like anyone being caged. This is wrong to do. Now I live in a room at NIM. People will not let me pay to live somewhere else. The people below complain about the sound of my hooves, or say I will break floor tiles. I do not belong here. This world is not mine, but the noodles are good. Kali needs to find her noodles, so it is not so bad for her. She cannot do that inside a cage. Noodles? Lilac asked irritably. What are you talking about? Strawberry face palmed, Ujaran shook his head, and Bruno sighed deeply. She's never asked us for pasta, Lilac insisted. If she wants noodles, we'll bring her noodles. It's not about the noodles, Kali smirked. I will take Strawberry to Nim. She can stay in my room for now, Bruno offered, but she must help when there are less kiddies at work. Thanks, but no, Strawberry said. I'm not going to work today. I was grabbed from my house, tied up for hours, used as bait, while she killed a couple dozen people, and you guys. What did you two actually do? Bruno untied me and carried me here, but... Large or small, Kali said while looking at each of them, starting with Bruno, ending with Lilac, sometimes everyone has to play their role. Bruno smiled broadly. The arm protect the Mew. The Mew grow large, and feed our sick and dead to the arm, who continue to protect us. The cycle continues and makes us all grow stronger together. Lilac lowered her head. You don't understand. The soldiers guarding that door are my people. They work for me. I let her out for their sake, not for any of you. Kali gave Ujaran's tail a firm squeeze. That decision has consequences. Ujaran guaranteed me that he could get Kali back inside. That's the only reason I could justify letting her out. Meetings with Jinan, returning money that was allegedly taken, giving her property, letting her stay outside until she decides she's ready to go back. I don't have the authority to do any of these things, and if she doesn't go back soon, I'll have even less power in the future. I'm not your enemy. Why can't I make you understand that? They keep increasing Shugok's involvement and reducing mine. He tells them it'll be good for your mental health to bring some random girl home, and they approve it on the spot. If I ask that, they'd ask me to undergo a mental probe to make sure I'm not under some sort of mind control. Some random girl, Strawberry sounded outraged. Random in all the right ways, Kali teased. Let her get it out. I've done all I can to make things better, Lilac sounded frantic, but Kali couldn't get a good feel for the woman's mental state. I took her to get clothing. I added Ujaran to the authorized visitor list, even if it was a security exemption. I took a lot of blame for the worker who screwed up and let him bring her on service patrol. I even advocated for her being given more freedom. I'm treading on thin ice right now. If they put someone else in charge of overseeing her case, who knows what they'll be like? I've done everything I can, but if you don't go back... Kali said she will, when she knows Sato is safe, Bruno said forcefully. She is a nice kitty. She cannot fight. She cannot protect herself. She has no knack. She is not big and strong, like me, or trained. Like Ujaran or Whiskers. On my world, I had 60 wives. When they were in danger, it made me weak. I was lucky. I had the arm to help protect them. Kali is strong, but she has no arm to help her. I offered to post guards at her residence, Lilac objected. Let me explain why that's a bad idea, Ujaran said. If you posted your 4 best guards in the flower gardens to protect a single flower, how much unwanted attention do you think that would attract? Lilac smirked. She lives in a nothing apartment in a poor part of town, Ujaran said. If you posted a guard in front of a single door, everyone will want to know why. So, are you going to post one in front of every door? Now you've drawn even more attention, and people will want to know which door the treasure is hidden behind. Or, Strawberry cooed, he called me hidden treasure. We know where your treasure's hidden, Kali winked. Strawberry blushed and grinned. Bruno chuckled softly. The waiter came by to clear the bowls off the table, and ask if they'd like to move to a recently cleared booth. We won't be much longer, Kali said. Thank you for your service, Bruno added, then glanced at Kali with disapproval. I might learn the local customs if someone let me out more often. Kali smirked at Lilac. It took me a while, Bruno admitted. That's what sets apart the locals from the visitors, Ujaran said dismissively. I may be a citizen of the Kulani Dominion, but I'm no local. The customs vary in each system. It helps people know where you're from, like an accent. I'm from the Fellowship, and most people around here can tell just from the way I thank people. Strawberry scoffed loudly. I've been a kitty for years. You have no idea what you're talking about. It has nothing to do with where people are from. It's more of a caste system, not that anyone would admit it. We do not have a caste system, Lilac objected. Strawberry smirked. You trip and fall flat on your face in a puddle. Someone wearing vibrant earth tones, with intermixed silvery and golden cloth helps you up. What do you say to them? Did I get the emissary wet? Does it matter? Bruno grinned. Of course, it does, Lilac insisted. I suppose it does, Strawberry said with a glint in her eyes. It's not like they're wearing a white breastplate over their greens. Yeah, right, like an Imperial Guard would help up someone like me. Oh, I know, Strawberry said with a forced laugh. People like us are so far beneath them. Could you even imagine? Lilac laughed. What is a caste? Bruno asked. I don't know that word. In a caste-based society, people are treated differently based on wealth, occupation, social, or even military ranking, Ujaran explained. Bruno began to laugh. Strawberry stopped laughing abruptly. None of us are in a high enough caste to have the right to look them in the eye, Strawberry sneered. Isn't that right, Lilac? Maybe that's why Mistress Kulani invited me but wouldn't see me, Kali mocked. Queens don't bow to mistresses. But you're just, Lilac began. A person, just like Ujaran, Bruno, and Strawberry, and you, Lilac. You should listen to yourself occasionally. Beneath them, unworthy, someone like you. I killed 21 people. That would be the 5 in the van, the one I brought on the elevator to get floor access, about a dozen private security personnel, and the other 2 in the room with Dr. Zayas. The doctor's last thought was about me not getting away with something. Most of the others' last thoughts were about people they loved and were about to leave behind. You were upset that I killed the doctor. Please explain to me how this isn't a caste-based society, and once you're done with that, try to get me back some of the credits they took from me. As Lady Darkseid, I'd like to send a 5 cred apology to the families of his security staff. They were just doing their job. Are you serious? Ujaran's thoughts were loud and clear. Does it matter? Kali thought back. It won't happen. Lilac stared down at the table. We'll need a plan to keep everyone safe after we leave here, Carly said. Strawberry, I'm going to ask you to endure your shift tonight. Bruno will be there to help keep an eye on you. Strawberry pouted. Don't worry, Carly grinned. I'll be there too, passively scanning the surface thoughts of everyone from the first table by the entrance. Ujaran, I'd like you to look into the dead doctor. Get what assistance you can. Considering the risk of retaliation, I need to know more about the viper's nest I stomped on today. I'll get on it after I drop you 3 at masculinity, Ujaran said. Lilac, your task is the most involved. I hope you're up for it, Carly said. What, my task? Lilac stammered. I'm not a part of this. Hang on, Carly interrupted. I did say we need a plan to keep everyone safe, right? Are you not part of everyone? What are you asking me to do? Lilac said suspiciously. Let the people you report to know I was complaining about the money taken from my account. Tell them I was wondering if a portion of those funds could be allocated to help deal with the recent conspiracy to compromise local security. It affected me, so it is in my best interest to have it resolved. The plot involved covering up serial consent violations, as well as one known murder. There could be more. I suspect over the next days and weeks, more of the doctor's co-conspirators will be attempting to check in with him on the 30th floor. Use those funds to fix up the entry points to that floor. Station your most trusted people there to intercept them. Kamen, Mongunny, Vulpine and Lupian only. You're dealing with racist potential terrorists. What you do once you have his sympathizers isn't my affair. Lilac looked up, baffled. You'll be thwarting what looks like a terrorist ring before they can do significant damage, Carly grinned. So far, these people have been skirting the borders of the law, only breaking it to cover their tracks. They did try attacking a restricted government facility today, right? Lilac nodded slowly. That's a bold move, Ujaran added. What would their next move be if they had succeeded? Is it worth the risk of waiting to find out? Hey, Carly butted in. Stop that. I'm supposed to be the horrible manipulative person here. Strawberry giggled. The Pharisee speaks truth, Bruno said. This should make Whiskers look good, Carly said for Lilac's benefit, but turned to make it look like she was talking to Bruno. I know the government isn't going to return my credits, but knowing it's going to a good cause will go far to encourage my cooperation in the future. The more I get to know the regular people, the more I like it here. Bruno smiled happily. Adiarchie, that reminds me, Ujaran said. Trudy over at Tudafuta said that sex industry conference she invited you to is in 10 days and is hoping you're still interested in attending as her date. Carly smiled mischievously at Lilac. Of course, I'd hate to waste that gorgeous dress Lilac bought me. I thought you wanted to wear that to Nim, Lilac said. No, Carly laughed. That's too nice for a place like that. I've got a hot date. I hope you'll let me go. Jealous, Strawberry pouted. I'm not. Lilac started to object. Not you, me, Strawberry snapped. You really do think everything is about you. She is still young, Ujaran laughed. She has time to outgrow it. Selfishness is a luxury of youth and the powerful, Bruno said with a shrug. I'm going to warn you, Carly asserted. Until I'm confident Strawberry has safer, more secure, living arrangements, I intend to stay with her. Just the two of us, to not draw unwanted attention. We are going to have a sleepover, Strawberry beamed. I can't authorize that. Lilac hissed. Strawberry pouted. Well then you and the people you work for have until her shift ends to come up with other options. I'll reject anything that doesn't respect her freedom and privacy. Lilac smirked. And how does you staying with her do that? It doesn't, Carly shrugged, but I'll be shocked if I spend more than one night there. Exhausted, too, Strawberry giggled. We won't be sleeping. On second thought, Lilac, Carly chided, take your time making those arrangements. She gives great cuddle. Almost as good as Bruno. Hey! Ujaran said with exaggerated offense. Stop that. You know what you're best at, Carly teased. I think that covers it, Carly said. Let's all get moving. Wait, Lilac said as everyone started to get up from the table. I don't know what sort of housing I should try to set up. This isn't the sort of thing I do. Right across the street from the building you're keeping her in is a condemned 16-story hotel. How about you use some of Carly's money to reopen it and turn it into free temporary housing for people who get stuck here like I did? Strawberry grumbled. That's a great idea, Ujaran said. If it's okay with Adiaxi. I wouldn't object, Carly said sadly, but it wouldn't work. They won't agree to it. Oh yeah, Strawberry sneered. It would cut back on the slave labor force sent to the southern continent to work for Gamaro Incorporated. Would it? Carly asked. I just know it's a nesting site for snipers. It is not, Lilac objected. Carly stared at her and cocked an eyebrow. It was just that once, Lilac grumbled. You'll figure it out, Ujaran reassured Lilac. There's a lot left to do. Let's get started, Carly said as they started for the door.